tell me about you and your channel.
Yeah, so I'm ToastiiBear. I have been streaming for a little bit over 4 years now. I would say the content that I like to stream, the games I like to stream for the most part are cozy, but I wouldn't consider myself just like a cozy streamer. I feel like we have a lot more going on the channel as far as it being very community forward. It's very community driven. It's so much less about what game that we are playing on the stream that day and so much more about just spending time together as a community and being there to sort of lift each other up, especially when people have had a rough day. We just have such a welcoming, warm, supportive community, and it's just so amazing to see. I also am a recent full time streamer. Just as of the end of November last year, I took a leap of faith. I quit my job of 6 years as an apparel designer, specifically headwear, which don't get me wrong, like that was actually a really cool job. I'm thankful to have had the opportunity to do a job like that, but it was very, very stressful, very fast paced. And I found more often than not that I wasn't having time to put the love and effort that I wanted to into my design work to be able to make art that like I wanted to make instead of cranking out these designs for these like running events and all these things. So it actually took me a good 2 years to work up the courage to quit that job. I had wanted to leave for 2 straight years because as I was working this job, as I was getting more stressed, I was also streaming, and my love for streaming was just growing, and I had been cultivating this community, and I just realized that that was what I wanted to pour my time and effort into instead. So finally took the leap. I right at like 6 years at that job exactly, I was like, okay, I gotta go.
Wow.
I gotta pursue what I want to do, what I'm passionate about, what my dreams are. And it was really cool actually because my company was incredibly supportive. They actually decided to send me off with a parting gift. They got me a new drawing tablet as a reminder of their support in my new endeavors, which I think is amazing. It really was an incredible company to work for, and I'm so grateful for the people there and the opportunity, and just the fact they kind of gave me, a jumping off point to be able to really pursue what I wanted to do. So since then, it's been just about 6 months since leaving that job and streaming full time. I'm just so proud of how far my community and I have come. We, made Twitch partner just right at the end of March. So just about 2 months ago, we made Twitch partner. I also celebrated my 4 year streaming anniversary. I had a really, really special stream for that where it was kind of like a choose your own adventure for a chat where we portal hopped through these different games. I wrote out an entire narrative. There is a whole quest line, and it was a lot of work, but it was so much fun. And it's just been amazing to see just after 6 months of all my time and energy pouring into this, what we have been able to achieve. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and
Yeah,
where I've come from and where I'm at this point. So
that's amazing. That's quite the story. There's a lot to unpack there. So I'm glad that you gave me the summary, the cliff notes of it. That's impressive though for you to I think it's the goal and the dream for a lot of creators who do this to go full time, and uh I'm really glad that you were able to do that. And you mentioned 2 years of you kind of working up to that point and getting to that place where you finally decided like, yes, I can do this. I can do this full time. Uh I I commend you, and I think you're currently living the thing that so many creators are aspiring to. And so yeah, well done. And I think that's no easy feat to do that.
yes. Yeah, it definitely comes with its own stresses. I fully realized when I was leaving my job that I would be giving up that stress of the work itself for the stress of, okay, well, how am I going to like pay my rent this month? And I
Yeah.
fully understood that I was trading one stress for another. But that's just the nature of any job, no matter what it is, there are going to be stresses one way or another. And I just decided to choose the stress that would allow me to work towards my dreams instead of the stress of a job that I felt like wasn't really making like a meaningful impact on the world. Like designing hats was cool. Maybe one of my hat designs was someone's favorite hat, but I knew I wanted to make more of an impact. So that was kind of the driving factor behind me taking a scary leap like that.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And well done on that. Yeah, I appreciate it. I think I recognize probably the back and forth you had with yourself, and thinking about, well, do I do this now? Is this worth, is this worth stepping away from, admittedly a more stable situation, right? Usually when you have a full-time job, you at least know what you're getting. You at least can count on that income. Whereas when you make that shift into full-time content creation, that's not always guaranteed. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk a little bit about what led you to streaming. What brought you into Twitch, or what got you going live on a regular basis? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I grew up with video games. I have one older brother, and my parents were so awesome. They were so on top of getting us like the PS1, PS2 right when it came out. So video games have been such a huge part of my life for basically as long as I can remember. And as soon as that concept emerged of like a let's player, right? Like somebody's watching someone else play video games, there was always this little nugget in the back of my head, like, oh, maybe that's something I could do someday. But it always felt so much more like a fantasy than something that I could make a reality.
Mm.
And then finally, 2021, a friend of mine, we were just like playing Fall Guys. It was in the midst of lockdown. We are just playing Fall Guys online. And a friend of mine was like, you can actually like stream Twitch right from your PS4. Did you know you can do that? And I had absolutely no idea. So I actually, during that game of Fall Guys, I went live right then and there. I don't think anyone stopped by the chat. I think like the only people watching were like my friends who were in the game with me at the time.
Yeah.
But just knowing that it was that easy, where it was something where I was like, man, like I'd love to take the leap. Like I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start. I don't have a camera. I don't have like the stream set up. I don't know how I could do this. And just to once again, take like a leap of faith like that, and like, oh, I can just hit this button right now. Like I can just go live right now. And that's where everything kicked off. And then I started to do some more consistent streams just off of my PS4, just using like my PlayStation camera, the sort of default layout that the
Yeah. Oh
PS4
man.
has, which is like, it's like this tiny little camera. Like
Yep.
it's kind of janky, but you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, and I distinctly remember the first stream where like, I like made a day out of it. Like I had like before I was just like going live when I felt like it every now and then. But I remember the first day where I was like, okay, like I'm going to go live at this exact time. I'm going to get ready to be live at this exact time. And I think that might be when it really clicked that was like something special that I really, really enjoyed, like this concept of planning the stream and going live. And, I was lucky enough to meet a really nice group of people, like kind of right when I had started streaming, even when I was just streaming on PS4. I met really nice group of people, a really nice community that I got involved in. And that really helped me at the outset to find that sense of community pretty early on in streaming.
Yeah.
And eventually switched over to streaming off of an iMac, which is funny because I was just this morning, Amor, I was listening to Juice's podcast while I was cooking breakfast and stuff. And he mentioned he started streaming on an iMac as well.
Yep.
And a lot of things he was talking about, a lot of the pain points with that are so real. It is so unnecessarily complicated. But again, you got to work with what you got,
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, did end up getting myself the PC, and just made it a regular routine. And I just fell in love with it over time. And that's kind of how I got started.
That's wonderful. Would you say there's any particular things specifically that you were really excited about, or like what aspects of streaming did you fall in love with that made you want to keep doing it?
I think, the idea, first of all, that, I get to sit there and play video games because I've
Right.
always loved video games. That's definitely up there. But just meeting people and like people wanting to come into the stream and wanting to spend their time chatting with me. That to me was crazy. I was like, wow, like, people like want to spend their time here. They want to chat here, and just like getting to know these people that probably otherwise I wouldn't have gotten to meet because they're in different states, they're in different countries, So that aspect of it, I think, was really driving factor for me at the beginning to keep going.
Yeah. There's really something to be said about like that connection you can make with other people, and particularly, and I agree with you. Like, it doesn't really matter the games or the thing that you're doing, and in the end,
Mhm.
it comes down to just having fun and enjoying what you're doing while you're live. But you often tend to find people who, the ones who stumble upon the stream sometimes, right, are looking for a particular game, or they're looking for a particular activity, and they stumble upon across your stream, and they're like, oh, I really like the vibe here, the community, and what the streamers like. uh yeah, I think that's one of the best things about, like, what we do, is being able to connect with other people that otherwise you probably would have no way of meeting in real life, or not in any way come across that person, even though maybe you overlap with a lot of your community with interests and things that you enjoy. There's no other way until you get to Twitch, right? And so, yeah, that's one of the
Yes,
things
and
that I
then
fell in love
yeah.
with. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and the consistency as well of, you're seeing these people, like, maybe daily, like, depending on where you see them. If you see them in someone's stream who streams, like, Monday through Friday, and you're chatting with them, like, every day, I think that's really cool too, just that opportunity to really get to know people and just have that frequency of interaction. I think it's just really, really special.
Yeah, I agree completely. You've been doing this for 6 years now at this point, and,
4 a little
oh,
over 4.
4
Yeah, a
years,
little over
sorry.
4.
A little
Yeah.
over 4.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
Yeah, you've been doing this for 4 years, and I guess at this point you have a very established community. What do you like most about it? What are the things that make your community unique to you?
I think the fact that, sometimes when you go into a Twitch stream and you say hi, like, you feel kind of invisible, like, maybe the streamer says hi to you, but no one in chat really interacts with you. Like, I've felt that like, a lot of times, honestly, going into people's streams, and my community is very much the opposite of that, where people are coming in, everyone is saying hi to each other. If someone mentions they've had a bad day, people jump on the opportunity to give them kind words, support, encouragement to keep going. And I just think that is the most special thing, is that yes, the streams are a comfy place to be, but the community is what really makes it so special, in the aspect of, like, if you're having a rough day, if you come in, there's going to be people there to go out of their way to try to make your day better. And I just think that is so special. Even, like, in my Discord, daily we have people who will post these positive messages saying, like, you're awesome, like, you got this, keep going, like, you're going to get through it, just like on the daily. And there have been rough days where I wake up and I'm just like, just having kind of rough go, and I look at the Discord, and those messages really, really help me. And I just think that's just so special that we have that within the community.
Yeah. I appreciate the positivity and the ability to lift each other up. I think it's u- uniquely, especially in your community. I've just found that it's sincerely positive, and I really appreciate just how uh, welcoming everyone is the moment you say hi in chat. And you touched on the whole, have you ever been in a chat and you've not feel seen, or maybe, kind of lost in the shuffle? I never get that impression when I am sitting in on your streams. Whether I say something, or I quietly lurk, and then I see people pop in and say hi. It's really cool. All your chatters will say hello to each other. You'll welcome
Mhm.
them in, and it's definitely one of the things I've noted the most about, like, what you do on a regular basis. So I completely agree with that, and I think that's really amazing. And it's tough to find on Twitch sometimes, right? Especially, like, it's really easy to get lost in the shuffle, or, like, not be seen in the chat. Some chats move so fast, uh,
Yeah.
and you're not welcomed, or people don't say hi to you. And your community always seems to do a great job of welcoming people to the stream. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. what are some of the most memorable things that have ever like happened in your community? What kind of stuff has happened that still stick out to your mind in this day?
So I think the biggest one, so there was actually a really, really devastating fire right near where I live, right at the end of 2021, which was, that was maybe a year, a little less than a year after I had started streaming. And I knew that I wanted to do a charity stream to help raise money for those people who lost their homes in my own community. And I still so clearly remember, I planned the heck out of that stream. I planned like a full day raising money for the community. And I still remember so, so vividly when we hit the charity goal. And there was something that really clicked for me that made me realize that, what I'm doing with streaming is spanning beyond just the internet. Like that was real, actual, genuine help for people who were going through a crisis, a disaster. And we were able to come together as a community and raise money for them to kind of try to help them out in a time when they really needed it. And that for me was just so incredible, just so amazing to see that streaming could have that kind of impact on something that is literally so close to home for me. So that absolutely stands out. And I'm really excited to do some more charity streams. I've done a handful. The other one that I did in February this year was Save and Raid, which is absolutely amazing. It is a streamer relay event every year. I think this was its fifth year running to raise money for suicide prevention and awareness. And it's like 60 plus different streamers that come together over the course of an entire weekend where they pick a game or like a handful, like a series of games. Like this year we did Diablo 1 and 2, and you play the game for an hour, you raid into the next person on the list, and you pass the save file over to them. And it just goes through the whole weekend
Oh, that's
playing the
great.
game, trying to get through the game, but then also raising money for a really, really amazing cause. And this was my first year doing it. And within our 1 hour time slot, we managed to raise $1,250 for SAVE, which is Suicide Awareness Voices of Education. And it was just so awesome to be a part of that. The entire event as a whole this year raised over $21,000. And it was just so incredible to see so many people coming together for a cause that, unfortunately, it means a lot to a lot of people. It's something that a lot of people have had some sort of connection to in their life. And it's just so amazing to see that kind of support. And then just the work from the Save and Raid team, the love, the time, the energy that they pour into it. They fly the team out because, the team's kind of all over the US, all over the world, honestly. But some of the team flew out to like the central headquarters, and they're there all weekend watching the streams throughout the entire weekend and just supporting and cheering everyone on. And I just think that, the opportunity to do charity streams like that is such a beautiful part of being a streamer and part of, being on Twitch, so that you can, you know, have a cause that you really believe in, and you can go and like raise some really good money for it with the help of your community. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And charity is so huge, actually. Charity is one of the main reasons I got into streaming. Actually, I started streaming kind of super casually, playing games. And then the first time I really sat down and took it quite seriously as a thing was when I heard about Extra Life, which is it benefits Children's Miracle Network hospitals across North America. And I was like, okay, I'll help them out. And they were really like, when I heard about it, they were like, hey, you can stream to help us fundraise for these hospitals. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I did this a couple times. Maybe we'll do it. And I really committed to I I committed to a 24-hour stream foolishly as someone who was like a very casual streamer. And it it was amazing to do something that good, but I got such a crash course in what it was like to be a streamer going for 24 hours trying to fundraise for a charity. So
Yeah, you really threw yourself into the thick of it with that one.
yeah, I totally did. But I love that that's one of the things for you too, that is so very important. And a couple people in the stream are posting the stand up to cancer logo, which is a big thing that I'm involved in. And if you ever want to do another charity, that's something we'd be glad to talk to you about. Where we just like some of the events you described, we get a bunch of streamers together. We put on an event that goes on. This year it'll be 10 days from August 6th to the 16th, and it's a bunch of streamers who are fundraising stand up to cancer. I'm going to say it right because uh, in the last time I spoke about it on a stream, I misspoke and said it the wrong way. But yes, it's stand up to cancer. But yeah, I'm glad that you are, really into that sort of thing. I think that it's one of the many things us as creators can do, right? We can use our platform, we can use our reach to do some good. And so yeah, that's incredible. I
Yeah,
see
and
you,
I love the
Brian.
chance to chat about stand up to cancer. I know I saw that
I
too.
see you,
Brian
Brian.
got me to
See you, Brian. Zach. See you. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No. I was just saying I'd love the opportunity to chat about being a part of that
Yeah,
this
yeah.
year. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd be glad to have you and do some more good. Yeah.
Yes.
Charity's great. It's certainly one of the best ways for us as creators to make an impact. And you know, uh, I think it can be kind of an overwhelming thing for people who are taking it on for the first time. But speaking as someone who's done several years of charity, helping organize the Stand Up to Cancer events, we some of our best, our best people on the team are the ones who joined and were like, I'm afraid to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't
Yeah.
expect much from me, or I'm gonna really need help. And they always end up doing great. They always end up
Oh, yeah.
doing wonderfully. So for people who are always a little hesitant or reluctant to do that, I would encourage you to consider getting involved in some charity. Uh, yeah, it's great. What for you? Like, what of the charities that you have helped, what kind of drove those decisions to get involved? I mean, you talked about how personally, uh,
Mhm.
you know, with the fire, that was one of them. What other things kind of help drive that decision for you to pick a charity, and how do you pick?
It's interesting because like they've kind of just sort of fallen into my lap, like, for example, the one with the fire to try to help a crisis in my own community.
Yeah,
And then also Save and Raid, that was something where last year I had friends who were participating in that. And I remember having Save and Raid on that entire weekend because you can just leave it up all weekend and just let yourself follow that raid train like all the way till the end of the event. Um, and I just, I think part of it also is like personal connection to something, from personal experience, something that you have gone through in your own life, and wanting to support a charity related to that. I feel like that can often be a driving factor. Which that was for me with Save and Raid as well. So, and I have some other ideas like wildlife is one that I'd love to do charity stream for sometime because I've just always loved nature and animals and stuff. So I think just having that like personal connection to the charity that you're supporting is
yeah,
such a driving factor. So yeah.
I agree. I agree. It
Mhm.
it, it often uh, helps a lot when you have some kind of personal connection to the charity that's benefiting, whether it's you know cancer research or if it's helping hospitals for children, which are causes that I definitely like to fundraise for. And it really makes it much clearer to not just you, but like the people that you are conveying your message to, right? Where you're like, I'm fundraising for this charity because it's really important to me. This is why it's important. Please help us out, right? Whether it's talking about the stream to other people or sharing it or donating themselves. So, yeah, yeah. That's fantastic, and I think some people who are getting into charity fundraising need to remember that, like, that one thing where it's, if it's a cause that means something to you, it will mean so much more, because you can speak to it personally, right? So
Exactly. Yeah. And, to touch on what you were talking about earlier, there is a different kind of nervousness that comes with doing a charity stream as opposed to even like, planning a stream event, like planning a stream anniversary or something like that, where that you can be a little more nervous before something like that because more planning went into it. It's a bigger deal than just like your day to day stream. But there is sort of like a different nervousness to a charity stream because you want to be able to raise as much money as possible, and there's always that scary thought of like, oh my gosh, like no one's gonna
mhm,
donate, no one's gonna
yeah,
support, which obviously like isn't true, but there is that hurdle to get over. But yeah, if there's anyone here listening who is a streamer who has thought about doing a charity stream and has been nervous to dive into it, I highly encourage you to take the leap because you'll be so glad that you did. It's scary, but you'll be glad you did it.
yeah. I completely agree. It's scary. It makes you nervous. You hope, you're right, that people show up and donate, or that you hit some kind of goal that you've set for yourself. And that's actually one of the biggest things that happens when I see a lot of new creators jump into like the charity aspect of it, where they're like, oh man, no one's going to show up, no one's going to donate. And really, honestly, it as long as you're putting in the effort and the time, Millie Milkers in the chat said this is really, at the very least, you've raised awareness, which can be
Mhm.
way worth it, way more worth it in the long run, and being able to kind of put those needs of the charities out there for people who may not even know about it. Doing things from, like, personally speaking, Extra Life, and St. Jude, and a lot of those charities. Some people are either like, "Oh, I've never heard of it," or "I've heard of it, but I didn't know enough about it to really consider donating." Thank you for raising that awareness. And even at the
Yeah.
very least, like the core of like raising awareness for the cause and the charity, that's more than enough. And us creators, we do that every day, right? Every time we're
Mhm.
in front of our communities, the things we talk about, we bring awareness to those things. Charities are a huge, can benefit hugely from that. So yeah, what would as a creator with all the experience you have now, what would you do if you were starting fresh? If you're a brand new creator with the knowledge of Toastii today, what would you do? How would you tackle streaming as a new creator?
Interestingly enough, I don't know that I would change anything about
Yeah.
the way that I kind of started things off because I think one of the most important parts of it is to become a part of some other communities, maybe even before you start streaming, be a part of some other Twitch communities. And obviously not with the ulterior motive of like, oh, I want to be in this community so they know me. So then when I start streaming, like, obviously make it genuine, find communities that you actually genuinely want to be a part of. And then, from there, people are going to know you, they're going to recognize you, they're going to start coming to your streams. And like I said, I was lucky enough at the outset to have joined a couple really amazing communities. I still remember like my first raid and stuff and like how special that was. And I think that is just first and foremost so important before even worrying about like, oh, do I have like a decent camera, a decent microphone, whatever. Like it's so important, I think, to just make sure that you have these relationships that you've built around the platform with other content creators, other viewers and stuff. And then just kind of naturally from that, you're going to have those people hopping over into your own community. So I think that's why, like, I wouldn't really change anything about how I did things. And, even though some things weren't perfect, jankily streaming off of the iMac, doing like Whiskey Wednesday, it was such a different like lockdown. It was like lockdown. So I was doing like whiskey Wednesday streams where I was just streaming, like drinking whiskey on a Wednesday because like I was out of work. Like because I did actually I
Yeah.
lost my job, my design job. I did lose that during the pandemic for about 4.5 months. So
Yeah.
it was all, everything to the wind at that point. So,
Right.
but like I like those aspects of it. I like the aspects of it being a little messy, being a little imperfect, because if things didn't go exactly how they went back then I wouldn't be where I am now. And I'm very, very happy with the
Yeah.
journey that I've gone on to lead me to this exact point. So yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't change anything, I don't think.
That's great. And that speaks a lot to your experience as a creator and doing the things that you do now, that you've reflected on those early days. And yeah, it's great that you wouldn't change anything, because and it sounds like I think your journey started very similarly to the way a lot of us do, right? You said you were playing Fall Guys and you just went live, you just decided to do it and
Mhm.
see what happened. And it's always, I think, when we start, we don't realize all the things that go into it, because we're like, hey, it looks fun, right? And
Yeah.
you hit the go live button, and then you enjoy it. You have that rush of like, oh, this is really fun to me. And then you realize like all the stuff that you eventually want to get to. And then for some people, because I've seen this in other creators where it's like they get overwhelmed, right? They're like, oh, I need to do all this.
Yeah.
And you touched on a point that was really great. It was like, just you don't have to do, like, get all the things. You don't have to have the best setup. You don't have to do uh, XYZ and get all these things to be ready, right? To be quote unquote ready to stream.
Yeah.
And I noticed that in your story, right? Where you're like, I just did it from my PlayStation and that was fine until you were ready to, try it on an iMac and you realized how bad that was. But you, right? Like you worked with what you had, as you've said. And I
Yeah.
think that's super important. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, because at the end of the day, people are there for you, they're not there because you have the best camera or, the best scenes or whatever, they're there for you at the end of the day.
Yeah. So we talked about where you've been, but let's shift a little bit to talk about where you're going. Where is Toastii headed as a creator and as a channel and a community? Where do you hope to take all this?
Yeah, so this has been something that has been on my mind a lot after hitting Twitch partner just a couple months ago, because that is such a monumental milestone as a Twitch streamer.
Mhm.
That's, what I think a lot of streamers are striving for, is to get that check mark, do that push, be successful, get accepted as a Twitch partner. And it's still, very surreal to have hit that, because that's something that I've thought about that day in my head, played it over and over in my head so many times, and just, that felt like something that was really distant, really unachievable. And it's very, very surreal to have gotten to that point. And, of course, once you hit a huge goal like that you've been working towards for so long, there is that moment of like, what now? Like, what do I do now? I've spent all of my time and effort focusing on hitting this one specific goal, and now I've hit it. So like, where am I going to go from here? So the next piece of it, which I've already kind of gotten into motion, is posting content outside of Twitch. I sort of have kind of all my eggs in one basket right now, with Twitch being my largest following, Instagram second, and then, YouTube, TikTok. Those are very, like, because I've never really posted on those, so they're very low following. So I have just over the past few weeks tried to commit myself to posting one short on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Just for now, just one video a week. Try to commit myself to that, and kind of bring in people from those platforms into my Twitch streams to kind of further grow the community and continue to grow as a streamer, and grow to the point where I'm not worried if I'm gonna make enough to pay my rent that month. So that's kind of the next goal. And that's been kind of scary and more like, putting
Yeah.
yourself out there, like taking yourself from like your little cozy corner of Twitch where it's like your little community, everybody knows you, they know what you're all about, to taking moments from those streams and posting those to the whole internet, just post them out there.
Yep.
It can be scary. So I'm really proud of myself to have been doing that over the past few weeks, and being nervous to post those things and being scared, like, oh, I'm gonna look stupid. Like I had one where so I have a point redeem on my channel for 300,000 channel points where people can summon Grandma Toastie, and I literally leave, walk away, come back dressed up full on grandma, curl like gray curlers in the hair, the like nightgown, the pearls, the glasses with the chain, just like full cane, like everything. So one of my recent videos was that just some moments from Grandma Toastie, and I was so scared to post it because I was like, oh my god, like this is so dumb. Like, are people gonna like? Are people gonna like this? Like, I feel like it's so silly, but it got a great reception, and it just proved that like post the content, like don't be scared, like just post the content, like you can do it, like doesn't matter if it doesn't get any views, like you posted it, and that's what matters, is that you took the time to like do that, and you had the courage to do that, to post yourself. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's kind of the next piece of it, is just to hopefully bring some people in through different sources other than Twitch to continue to grow.
I I want you to know, I'm going to confess that I totally found that short, or that video, when I was preparing for this, and I audibly laughed and I appreciated it. And you're right. It is one of those things that that is incredibly scary to do, right? From from a perspective of, because it's one thing to be in a stream. Things happen on stream. It's usually captured in that moment. Maybe someone will clip it, and sometimes that's as far as it goes. So it doesn't feel as big of a deal. But when you are actively saying, this is the thing that I'm going to post into the world, and more often than not, some of us are like, oh, it'll never see the light of day. People will never see it. But there's always that off chance, right, where tons of people will find it and
It's always
share
a
it,
chance.
and
Yeah.
it goes
Mhm.
out there, and there is a little vulnerability there when you stop and then take a moment to post it, and you wonder, was this a good idea? Was this really silly? So I commend you for doing that. The whole next step of expanding to other platforms is a huge step for a lot of creators, and so it makes sense that that's something that you're focused on. It's definitely tough. It's definitely scary. What are
Mhm.
you know beyond those things, like what are you finding about that to be so different than the work that you're doing on Twitch?
I've actually found that I really look forward to video editing,
Mm,
because there's actually a lot of parallels with like the digital design that I've done for work. There's like a lot of parallels within video editing. So I've actually found that I've really started to look forward to that part of my week where I sit down and I piece that video together.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's great. I think that people, I found editing to be a bit polarizing amongst streamers. I think
Yeah.
some people either really dislike it, or they really take to it. And it's,
Where do you stand on that?
where do I stand on it? I always wanted to be better at it. I still do want it, because I consider myself still fairly novice at video editing. However, I think it's because I understood that it's more painful the less you know, right? Like anything,
Yeah.
like it gets easier over time with experience and practice. And that can be very like, it's hard to kind of power through if you don't know how to do it. And something that would take an experienced editor maybe an hour would take someone a lot more who's still learning it. And I think that's the most painful part. And for me, I think that kind of being aware of that and talking to people who edit videos, and just like looking at the process and understanding that it's not easy, it takes time, it takes experience. I try to give myself a lot of uh you know slack for it, right? Where I was very patient with myself, knowing that it was gonna be tough. It's gonna take me a couple hours to knock out an edit of a video, but ultimately I'll get better. And I've gotten better in terms of like, I can edit a short very quickly. uh I can, I used to do a lot more editing around this podcast itself. Now I just kind of let it be more free flow in terms of what it is when it comes to the final edit. But yeah, I it's not my favorite thing, but I recognize it as something that is vital to the work that we do. And I do find moments where it's like, oh, that was really fun to make that edit look cool, or do something really nice. Like, oh, I really cleaned up like a conversation where maybe you lose a thread in the conversation and you kind of edit it down to the point where like someone can view it without having to like try to figure out the context of what was being said in a
Yeah.
conversation. So
Yeah, and I
yeah.
think that's a big one. I think I see that a lot with people consistently posting where the context of it is lost. So then the impact of the video itself is also lost because you don't have that context of like what was going on in the stream. So I've strived to do that with mine to make sure I either provide like quick context right at the beginning or make sure that it's something that even if it's taken out of context, it's still funny, it's still entertaining, it's still engaging. So I think that's really important because
Yeah.
I just, it's not going to have that impact if you don't have that context.
Yeah. And that's huge. That's huge that you're focused on that because like you said, I see that often, right? When I scroll through social media, I'm like, I don't understand what like, or it takes me a second to process what I'm seeing in a
Mhm.
video, or I have to rewatch it because I didn't quite, you know, maybe it was me, but often it's usually like just the edit didn't really set up the rest of the video for what you hope to be kind of the entertaining factor of it. And yeah, an eye for that is pretty important. So it's cool that you recognize that. And yeah, gosh, editing is it's tough. And it's cool that you're enjoying it because I think that will make this transition to other platforms, or at least including the transition to including other platforms. I think that will be a lot easier for you than some because frankly, I've watched people really struggle with it because they're like, oh, I hate editing, can't do it, can't hire an editor. So I guess I'm gonna slog through like a couple hours of editing. And for some people it's torture. I
Yeah,
I think it's fun to see what you can make right out of some raw stream footage. Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Very cool. So it looks like
Yeah. Also, have fun. Had a great comment. Now
ooh,
we need a Grandpa Amore
a
redeem. So
grandpa Amore.
When's that coming?
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's yeah. I mean, a grandpa. I don't think I have anything that would make me look like a grandpa, but I'm sure I could find some.
You
Can
could get
I
creative.
can workshop it. I can Grandpa Amore. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Maybe in
I would
honor
watch that. I would watch the heck out of that.
in honor of you and your community, I may work on a redeem or a stream of as Grandpa Amore, which maybe that's not too far fetched, in terms of being I'm getting there. I'm getting up in age. A lot of people joke that I'm like an elder on Twitch,
As
right?
Mr. Hurrell just literally said exactly that in chat,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I'm pretty old, right? I get it. So yeah, it's not wrong. Lack of
Yeah,
hair
because
is
you've
a
been
good friend.
around Twitch since it was like a scripture, right? Like, it was like a tome in
Yeah,
the
I
library.
I was I was I was watching Twitch when it was Justin.tv.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Any oldies in the chat? Any any grandparents in the chat? Yeah, I didn't make an account until it became Twitch. I made an account right like after it became Twitch, but I was on the site when it was Justin uh TV, and it was very ironic because back then it was marketed as like live stream anything, do whatever you want. It's great, and that's cool. It was a really cool like message, but at a certain point they're like, "Oh, video games are like the thing because all of our people love streaming video games, and then they made a pivot to go, okay, we'll rebrand, which became Twitch, but we'll
Mhm.
rebrand around the stream video games, right? Now that it's been around a while, they're kind of going back to the way
Going
it used
back,
to be
yeah.
used to be as Justin TV, where it's like stream IRL, uh do anything in addition to video games. You do video games, but you could do anything, right? Like we see all of our friends in the and DJ category. We have all
Mhm.
the makers and crafters. A lot of us do Lego. Like we're doing all the things that are not video games. And
Not games,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's very cool. It's very interesting how they kind of took this wide like rebrand, completely changed their name, built themselves up as a video game website, and now they're they still know that's their core identity, but they're working very hard to get more types of streamers on the platform. So yeah, you're right. You're right though. It's very I've been around here for many, many years. Perhaps a sage, I don't know. But
Yes,
yeah.
grandpa sage specifically.
I was rewatching a VOD looking for clips, and I totally caught myself saying something totally like that, in terms of like, man, when I started, there was only Twitch alerts, and that's all we had. And I was like, wow, that is very like grandpa of me to like say.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I am old. Anyway, I wish you the best of luck on expanding, uh, not just on Twitch, but beyond, because frankly, it's important. It's a thing that people really need to, those of us who want to do this long term, you gotta kind of go past just Twitch, right? You need to include other
Yeah,
platforms. So I do wish you the best on that. And it
thank
sounds
you.
like you're taking to it. So, again, the video editing is a huge aspect of that. And it sounds like it's not going to be a problem for you. So that's good.
Yeah, and, every time I do it, like you mentioned, I'm learning more, I'm getting faster, I'm
Yeah.
figuring out better ways, more efficient ways to do things, so that's been really helpful, and, yeah, I just it's important to not have all of your eggs in one basket because let's say something happens to Twitch, and that's where you've built your entire community, your entire following, and then Twitch is all of a sudden gone, and you are left with not having anything else, so I think it's really important as a streamer, as a content creator to branch out and make sure you have a network of support on multiple platforms as a just in case because you never know. You really never
Hmm.
know. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
You talked about the big milestone of getting partner and looking past that, as now that you've gotten that through that milestone and you're looking to the future. Let's talk about your partner journey, because that seems like a pretty still fairly recent thing for you, and something that I personally would love to know more about, since I'm
Yes.
working towards that as well. But tell me how the partner push went. What made you kind of start that whole process?
So it was actually, I feel like I owe a lot of my initial drive to want to make partner to a streamer that goes by Neat McKinley. He's a larger streamer. He's got, a decent following. He has gone viral on TikTok multiple times. He averages like 350 viewers on Twitch. So like a larger streamer that I really, really look up to. And he ended up following me like towards the end of I think 2023. He followed me on Twitch, which I thought was just crazy. I was like, oh
Right.
my god, like Nate McKinley followed me. Like, what is this? And then, actually, right towards the beginning of 2024, which the first half of 2024 was really, really tough for me and my family. We were going through something really, really challenging, and it was really, really hard. And so, I had taken extra comfort in being able to stream and spend time with my community during that time when I really, really needed it. And I still remember, I think it was February 2024. Neat McKinley had raided my stream and that just meant so, so much to me. And he had made a comment, something along the lines of like, "You're the brightest star that this corner of the internet has seen, and don't forget it." And he
Oh,
said that when he rated in. And he just had this like unwavering belief in me that I could be a successful streamer, that I could become a Twitch partner, that I could, make more of this than just a hobby. And to hear that from someone that you like really look up to is crazy, because they've gone through it. They've made it. They know what it takes. They know what it takes in a person to be capable of that. And for him to see that in me would just meant so much to me. And he's the first person that really made me feel like I could realistically become a Twitch partner, because before that it just seemed like something so unachievable. The gap between Twitch affiliate and Twitch partner is just massive. It's just insane.
yeah,
The requirements between the two are just completely opposite ends of the spectrum, and I just always thought it felt so unachievable. So I owe so much to him, for believing in me and making me feel like that was possible. And I also owe so much thanks to Seth Drums, who's another larger content creator.
yeah,
I actually I do design work for him. I've gotten the opportunity over the last several years to design merch for him, to design his new logo, to work on all sorts of stuff for him. And he had really kind things to say about my streams and my community and my content and me as a streamer as well. And so again, another person who is very successful, who has made it. And if they see something in me with all the knowledge they have, then that helps me to try to see that in myself, which can be hard.
yeah,
That's a piece of being a streamer, is having that self-doubt try to creep in on you and tell you can't do it, tell you you're not good enough. So sometimes you have to rely on those outside people to remind you to keep going, and remind you that not everything you think is true.
yeah,
um so yeah, so kind of right at the beginning of 2024, that's when the seed was sort of planted that I really wanted to try to make Twitch partner. And I was nowhere close to the numbers back then. I think I was like maybe 35, 40 average viewers maybe back then, but I knew it was something that I wanted to do. And my community did not hesitate to say like, "Oh, we can get there. Like, we got you. We got your back." So um I didn't end up doing like a full-blown partner push until maybe like a month before I got it. I want to say
yeah.
it was kind of just sort of a soft push. I had members of my community who came together, Scout Star Gaming and Neon Cakes. They came together and they made the Toastie for Fartner emote, which I just absolutely love, and it was so sweet because it was something that I had meant to do. I wanted to make an emote, but I just like couldn't get around to it. And they were like, "Toastie, we got you. Like, we got your back. Like, we're gonna make this for you." And to see that emote come together, kind of putting it down in plain text like that helped push me as well. And the fact that I had members of the community that would take the time to put something together like that because they truly believed that I could do it.
Yeah.
um, so my numbers started to creep up the more that I talked about wanting to make partner. I ended up unlocking the partner application, I think in like February of this year. I think towards the end of February, I unlocked the application. And Seth Drums had actually rated into me after I had unlocked the application, and I asked him like, should I just apply? Because at the time I technically didn't have those two consecutive months. They're
Hmm.
looking very specifically for, you need 2 consecutive months where you have at least 8 streams over 75. It
Hmm.
unlocks once you just hit that average of 75. The button unlocks for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you meet the requirements. But
Hmm.
Seth was like, you unlocked it, like just apply, just go ahead and full send it. And I poured my heart out on that application the first time around. I spent a good couple hours just really, really putting it all together, because the partner application, it's so simple. I don't know what I expected, but it's just a text box, and at the top it says, "Tell us about your stream," and that's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So I poured my heart out in that application, and ended up hearing back, I think like the next day, because I didn't have those 2 consecutive months. I didn't have that. But it didn't discourage me at all, because I kind of was expecting that.
Right.
But I had already written out I'd already written out poured my heart out in that, and then, just grinded pretty hard for the next like month to get those streams under my belt that I needed to meet the requirements. And then went back and applied like mid March. And then I heard back in a week. It was actually a week to the day that I found out that I made Twitch partner. And it's kind of funny and more like during that week where we were waiting to hear back,
Yeah.
I was unraveling like just a little bit, but like in a funny way. Like I was like streaming. We were like bumping. I was like 7 hour stream. I was like bumping music. I had my hood up. I had my like furry sunglasses on, sitting back in the chair, like gaming like this. And I look back at it, I'm like, oh my God. Like I was like going
Right.
crazy with anticipation to hear back. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely very stressful having to worry about those numbers so much because I don't know if you're like me or more, but like for me, like I focusing on numbers is so stressful for
Yeah.
me. Like it stresses me out
You
a
do.
lot. And unfortunately, yeah, with trying to make Twitch partner, that's the big one, that 75-year average, and you are forced
You
to
have to
focus on
care.
those things.
You have to
You
care
have
about.
to care. You don't
Yeah.
have a choice. So
Yep.
that piece of it, and trying to not crack under the pressure of like, oh my God, like that last stream I had was like 65 average viewers. I'm like worthless as a stream. Like, just like
Right.
these like
Right.
thoughts that would pop, which
Yeah.
is ridiculous, but that's just how our brains work sometimes.
Yeah.
But I found that what was really helpful for me during those times was to once again lean on people who had the experience of going through that partner push. Look at all that Juice, for example, who he made partner within the last like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
And right during my partner push is when he came onto your podcast. He came onto Crossing the Streams, and he was talking about his own partner journey. And I remember just finding that so helpful and so like comforting to hear his journey through it and his advice that he had to try to stop yourself from getting really discouraged and being really hard on yourself.
Yeah.
So I think leaning on people who have gone through it, who have been in the midst of that stress, that I think is so important during your push to help keep yourself sane, is to, don't try to slog through it alone. You have so many people who have your back, who are there to reassure you, cheer you on, especially in those times when you feel like you can't keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Because it's for those who don't know, or those who are listening to this and have no idea about like what's happening right now. For me, I am going through that right now. Like I literally announced it a week ago, and we're kind of right at the very beginning of this thing, which hopefully doesn't last forever, right? Because you can't sustain that forever. But like you said, it's it's at the very least a 2-month process in which you want to have the exact number of streams that are over that average of 75. And like you said, it can be stressful to care about numbers, and it's like, yeah, like we established, you have to care about it. You have to pay attention to it. You have to look for hitting that average. And yeah, it's a thing. And yeah, I do have a wonderful support network in a lot of my friends who have done this, as well as those who haven't, but particularly the ones that have experienced themselves this whole thing firsthand. I can definitely rely on them. And you have been wonderful as well in terms of supporting the push. You and your community have been amazing. So thank you for that. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing that I am currently going through, and you never really understand until you even start the process yourself. Which
once you put it out there, like
yeah. It's a thing. It's a whole thing, and definitely, yeah. I'm in the throes of it. I'm looking at it. I'm doing it. Putting in the time and telling the community all about it. But you were talking about how the numbers and affected you, having the support of people who went through it as well. I guess what I would ask is like, what other perspective do you have on this whole thing? Like, for someone who's been through it, what other thoughts do you have to share for someone who is like myself now, just going through it?
Yeah. So I think, one of the most important things is to, you know, become a part of communities around Twitch. And again, obviously not for that ulterior motive of
Right.
like, oh, I'm just gonna go in there for my own self-interest so that like they'll know me and I can grow my streams. But like find communities that you like genuinely want to be a part of, spend time in there, and then, like streamers that you really enjoy, spend time in there and like develop those connections. And then those people are going to be there to support you no matter what through your partner push. So I
Mm.
think that piece of it is really, really important. And then also just to be kind to yourself. And, if you feel yourself really starting to burn out and get really stressed to the point where you're I'm not having fun anymore. Like this isn't fun anymore, that it's okay to take a stream day off. Like it's okay. I really struggle with that. I have like a guilt trip every time I like feel like I need to take a day off of stream. Um, but I think it's so important to be kind to yourself, especially during that partner push, which is so, so mentally exhausting, to give yourself that self-care, give yourself that kindness, and don't be hard on yourself because it's not, if you have a stream that doesn't hit 75, you're not a terrible streamer.
Yeah.
You did nothing wrong. Like
Yeah.
it's just so important to remember that, we all have very complex, busy lives, and not everyone is going to be able to come to every stream. So,
I appreciate that perspective. And it's very, yeah, it's very true that like I think there's that wanting of like, oh man, what did I do wrong? Right. Or like, how did I mess up? Or like, am I not watchable? I'm horrible at
yeah.
this. Right. And so taking that time to be very kind to yourself is pretty huge. And I've seen many people go through this process, including many people I'm close to. And I think one thing that I've seen is there is a lot of that kind of mental stress that it requires an amount of fortitude to kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
yeah, to just like do it, because you are you're paying attention to those numbers. You're like, ooh, great, I was able to hit the average this stream, and then maybe the next stream you're like, oh no, I'm like right under it.
Yeah.
Right, end of the world. And
Ugh, it
yeah.
does feel like that. It really does. But you have to, because that is sort of a knee jerk reaction. So if you can, have that knee jerk reaction, but then kind of take a moment to pause and be like, well, wait, like, that's not true. I'm not a horrible streamer. I
Yeah.
didn't do anything wrong. Like, in the grand scheme of things, even still having like a 65 average viewer stream is pretty heckin' amazing for this platform.
Yeah, it's huge.
So trying to just like, yeah, just trying to like shift perspectives a bit, which is so hard because I feel like the partner push, there's such this like mental bubble that you get in. It feels very like self-contained. Like I have to hit that 75. I need those 8 streams for 75. And it is just so like all encompassing, and it just kind of really does sort of consume you. So
It does.
it's really important. Yeah, it does,
Yeah.
because you're in the midst of it right now
Yeah.
more.
Just
And
started. It's only
yeah,
been, gosh,
yeah,
it's only been like four or so streams in. 5
yeah.
maybe.
I'm curious, by the way. So you've been
Yeah.
streaming on
Yeah,
this
yeah.
platform for so long. You just celebrated, I believe, your 8-year affiliate
Yes.
anniversary,
8
right?
years as
So
affiliate.
yeah. So what was it that finally clicked for you that you wanted to start your partner push?
Yeah. This goes all the way back to, I want to say 2018. Gosh, 7 years ago. A year into my affiliateness, actually. And
Affiliateness.
affiliate, yeah. I was trying to find another word. But
I like that.
affiliateness. And I was a year into it, and I was a one game streamer at the time, which was kind of wild, right? Because I think if any of you know how that is for a streamer, uh, it can get very tough. I mean, even if you are absolutely in love with the game and the content and the community that comes with it, because it's all they're all interlinked, right? And so I was known for a game called Oxygen Not Included, which is a
Oh, yeah.
fantastic indie game by a company called Clay. I loved it. I fell in love with it from the start. I streamed it for that year, like a year straight,
Wow.
3 to 4 times a week. And I was actually 50s, 60s average concurrent viewership. And it was around that time people were like, oh, you thinking about partner? And at that time, many people that I knew that I was friends with were getting partner. I was like, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it'd be really cool, but I don't know. And I'm a very relaxed person. I'm a very chill guy. And I was like, we'll see. Not important to me right now. I don't want to stress about it. And I kind of had a choice at that point. Either I continue to push, like not partner push, but just like continue to do the thing of being a consistent streamer in this one game, and then maybe shoot for partner and then kind of like call that my out, right? Like I could just do whatever I wanted as far as streaming goes, whatever, if I ever wanted to, because I was starting to feel that, man, I've been playing the same game for a year. Maybe I want to stream
Yeah.
other things. And in that time, I've thrown in other games once in a great while. And every time that happened, right, it was like, why aren't you playing this game? All my regulars are like, this is an Oxygen Not Included, or there's no oxygen here, making jokes. And is like, yep, right. Like, totally get it. But we're not doing that today. We're doing this, but we'll do it tomorrow, or we'll do it in a couple days. It's fine. And I think at that point, that's when I realized that I was like, okay, like how much of my community is here for me and not just the game. And I kind of knew what how much of that split was. I kind of like, you kind of understand where you're at with that.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I was like, I really don't want that to be the reason if I get partner or hit a major milestone. For me, I because I was getting more comments about not playing the game when I wasn't playing the game. And I saw a really weird future, right? I had a vision of like, if I did it that way of like continuing to play the game, growing that audience specifically around that game. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to say, like,
Yeah.
I want to be
If it
very,
works for some people,
if it
it's
were,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Let me be clear. If that is what you do, awesome. For me, I knew that if I ever switched games on a different day or I did anything different, my chat would be filled with comments about it. And for me, that just wasn't going to do it. And so
Yeah.
I made a choice to start streaming other games, which was very like, at first, it was games that were adjacent to that game, very similar. I stayed within the genre and my viewership dipped, right? I was going from 50 to 60 to like 40 to 50 steadily downwards. I was like, okay, that's going to happen. Then I kind of saw a little uptick over a couple months, started to go back up, hanging out about around 50s again, playing games within the genre, which was great. Like, I think that's how a lot of people could do it. And that's also great. But again, like if I think I did like a birthday stream and I was like, I'm totally going to play a game that none of you care about, right? Like it was like StarCraft 2 or League of Legends. And like no one showed up for that. Like people came by, said, hey, cool to see. And then they left. And like we were talking about, numbers can sometimes mess with your head, right? And it was in that moment, I think a year and a half into regularly streaming, I was like, man, like if that's how it feels, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to commit to growing right now. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't know if I want to commit to growing right now. Life was also kind of crazy at the time. Uh, I was working a lot at my full-time job. Um, had a new child at the time. And so I was like, maybe I just need a break, dude. Like maybe I just need to take a break. And I made an announcement. I was going to take a break. I might be back in a month or two. I don't know. I left it pretty open. what turned into like a month or two turned into like 10 months away from Twitch.
Oh, wow.
I took 10 months off. I, you know, did a lot of things to fix like my sleep schedule because my sleep schedule was starting to get messed up. I started working out again, right? Like I was trying to get right by like my daily routine. I was, of course, spending time with my family, my wife and kid, and just kind of really got back into a good place. I was still lurking in friends' streams. I was keeping up on Twitch, but I was very silent. I'd get
Yeah.
the errant message every so often of people going, "Oh, hey, how you been? Haven't seen your streams. Are you good?" And I'd be like, "Doing good." About 10 months later, I decided to start being more active. And then I kind of came back to a lot of random things, right? I didn't want to do what happened before. I didn't want to be stuck being known just for one thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to find a thing that was like, how could I be a balanced individual? And, being very experienced with Twitch at that point, I understood what that meant for me as a variety streamer. But that's the thing I wanted, right? I wanted people to show up for me. I wanted people to support me for like, because they think I'm fun to hang out with and enjoy the vibe and like, you know, it doesn't matter. And so I went through a string of things. I was hardcore variety for me for a long time. And then I found Lego and I found the Lego community. And I will say it to this day, one of the best communities I've ever found on Twitch. If it wasn't for the Lego community, I probably wouldn't be as deep into Twitch as I am now. But they accepted me. They loved Lego. Obviously, similar pitfalls, right? Right. Like if I don't stream Lego, maybe a bunch of people won't show up because it's not their thing. That's okay. But what was really different this time was a lot of people did like they showed up regardless on the days that I wasn't streaming Lego. In the off chance I was streaming a game, the off chance I started this podcast, people still showed up. And to me, it really was testament to like, I was kind of doing it the way I wanted to do it. I was
Yeah.
doing it the way that really made me feel happy to be doing all of this. And so,
Yeah.
your original question was like, what made you do that? I told you all of this backstory and this lore
No, I'm glad I got the backstory. I'm glad.
to explain that, I've been on this platform for such a long time, and I've gotten into close to that partner push territory a couple times. That time I described to you when I was doing Lego nonstop, I was approaching those numbers, and I kind of got to that point where it was like, cool. And as life does, as life happens, life got busy again. I was inconsistent. I was trending towards hitting maybe a partner push at one point. And then I was like, man, it happened again. I didn't take 10 months off. I took like a month off. But I came back thinking, gosh, close again. Could have done it if I wanted to. But my mind was in a better place, right? I felt accepted. I felt
Yeah.
like people would show up regardless of what I did. They're here for me, which is what I wanted, not just for the thing that I'm doing. And, January came by of this year, seeing friends like, look at all that juice, doing stuff like partner pushes, seeing countless friends get partner, like Zach M. Rutledge, AZ Pinoy, Panfred Nudo, Local Brick Shop, just all of these amazing people that I know doing it. And I was starting to get the thing, like I was getting flashbacks to 2018, right? Where they're like, hey, are you going to do partner? And I was like, shoot, man, I don't know. I don't know, maybe. And, there was a lot of that pressure out there. And it wasn't because of that pressure that I decided to do it, but it was because of that pressure that I really sat down and was like, is this something I want? After all this time, 8 years, at the time it was like 8 years as an affiliate, 9+ years doing this. And I had a very nice heart to heart with Brix O'Brien, who was like, because he was wondering the same thing. He was on the same wavelength for some reason. He was like, hey, are you ever going to do that thing because it sounds like people want you to do the thing. I want to know if you want to do it. And I was like, I've been thinking about it. And at the end of the day, I was like, I know on paper, at the time when I looked at my average, I was like, I am nowhere near. I was in the 30s, bordering 40s on the best days. I was like, I am nowhere near it. And I know that now, right? Like even in the months leading up to this announcement, I knew that. So on paper, I know it looks and sounds crazy. It is. If I saw that in a random streamer, I'd be like, I don't know, man. They're kind of maybe you should keep going before you decide on that. Hand on heart, I understand that as someone who's been on the platform, but I think it's so different now that I believe in what I do. I believe in the community, all the wonderful people that show up to my stream, all the friends. Like you're a new friend. I consider you a new friend, but like all the friends out there who are like, yeah, I could see it if you try. And so I'm doing it. I know it's crazy. But yeah, that. So the short answer to what made you decide, it's the potential has shown itself so many times in the past, and for reasons that either were out of my control or just me not being mentally ready at the time led to me not doing it. And I'm in a good place now. I'm in a place where I feel like I can try, I can do it, I can deal with it. If I have a day which I don't get the average viewership, it's not gonna ruin my day. It's just gonna make me re-examine maybe what happened, take some lessons, move on. And if
Yeah, even
in
a challenge to continue to work hard as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
And wherever we're at within the next roughly 2 months, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And if we're not close or if we're not there, then I will take a step back and say, here's where I'm at. Everyone, let's talk about what needs to happen next. If we're really close, then same conversation, but in a more positive manner, right? The point is that I try, and that I really like, up until that point, have never said it out loud to chat in the community. Like,
yeah,
hey, I want to try for it. Because for me, it's proving to myself that, maybe I have what it takes. But yes,
yeah.
that's where I'm at with it. That's kind of for me, like, what it is. And yeah, I keep saying it to people. I know it sounds wild, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I really admire you too for recognizing that even at those times where you were, maybe starting to get close to being able to do a partner push, that, something about it just wasn't sitting right with you. You're locked into a particular game. You were feeling overwhelmed between juggling streaming and your personal life. And I think that's so important to make sure that you feel like it's right, that you feel like you have the bandwidth to take on a push like that. So
yeah.
honestly, good on you and more for waiting for the right time. And I know you got it. Like
Oh,
you're gonna
thank
get
you.
there for sure. You absolutely got it. You deserve it so much.
Thank you. And I really appreciate the kind words. And yeah, more than anything, I'm at the point where it's like, if I'm going to get it, I will speak it to, I will speak it to the world and make it as real as I can. I'll put
Yeah,
in the time and the effort, and we'll let fate take it from there, right? And if it means, in a couple months or later this year that I get to say that I'm a partner, amazing. If not, I'm sure there will be tons of lessons learned. So
totally.
it's all good either way. But, to bring everything back to you and your partner journey, uh, I want to say that I think your path was just so, well, like, you handled it really well. I'm sure internally you were very stressed. I'm sure internally you were probably, oh my God, is this going to work? But as someone who only at the time too, because I think I was just getting to figure out like who you were, and I was a mega lurker in your streams. Like I never really said anything because I knew you through Juice, and I was figuring out like Toastie seems cool, but want to check out, their community and see how it's going for her. I admire how you handled it, and how, I think you handled it with grace, and, despite all the stress that comes with being in that push. So I just want to commend you for that, because I think you did so well.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, definitely, at times I felt like I was going to crack under the pressure for sure. But those were the times to, again, like I said, take a step back, be really kind to myself, lean on my community, because that's part of it too. I think that stress of like, you're putting it out there that you want this, and then you don't want to let your community down. You don't want to feel like you quote unquote fail by
Right.
not making Twitch partner and like let them down and disappoint them. But
Right.
that's not something that, because you have a very strong community who's not going to be disappointed if you don't get it. They understand all of the intricacies of going through the partner push and the numbers game and everything. And they're still going to be there to support you no matter what, whether you have a check mark or not. And that's something else that really helped me in the like most intense parts of the partner push was, the numbers felt all consuming, but to focus on the fact that regardless of those numbers, having a community like that has your back and has each other's backs, that's at the end of the day what is most important, and that will never change.
Yep. It's so true. And, it's only been a week for me. It's only been 5 or so streams, but it is overwhelming to get that, like, just to even see, the support, and see the people who, like you said, they'll be there regardless of the check mark, right? They're gonna
Yeah.
they're gonna show up. It doesn't matter to them. Obviously we're trying to do it, but like, I know at the end of the day, if it doesn't happen, people will be there. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for sharing like how it went for you. It's
Of course.
it's really, yeah, it's a thing, and we're right in the
Yeah.
thick of it now. So
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like I said, I was just there like a couple
yeah,
months
yeah,
ago. I
yeah,
was I was right where you are. So,
yeah,
but it's nice kind of being on the other side of things, because now I feel like I have this knowledge that I can use to help other people who are wanting to achieve partner. I have the knowledge of how the push went, the application process, the ins and outs of it, and I just want to be like an open book for anybody who is hoping to make partner. I want to use that knowledge that I have to be able to help other people achieve their goals. So,
fantastic.
yeah.
It's appreciated. Yeah. What kind of streams do you like to watch? What kind of content do you like to consume yourself when you're not streaming?
Yeah. So local brick shop, he is like my go-to for like
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday mornings. And again, he opened the door to the Lego brick building community for me.
Mm,
Just such an incredible community. So I love watching local in the mornings. I also really enjoy the Game Grumps from YouTube.
yeah.
They are kind of the first ones that I think they're the first ones I ever really watched, the Let's Players, the first
Mm,
when that was first becoming a thing, like that they were the first ones. And I think, they were the first ones when I watched them that planted that seed, like, oh, maybe I could do that. Like maybe I could do that too. Um, and then yeah, just a lot of the friends from the community, a lot of friends from my stream teams. I'm a part of the Nord family stream team, which is run by nerdy northerner Jake. He's fantastic, wonderful community. So yeah, I'm really just, I pretty much have Twitch streams on all day from friends. And yeah, it's so fun to be able to hang out and
yeah.
just catch up with everybody on the daily. So
Yeah. I definitely see you in local streams, uh Zach streams, various places around Twitch. So I think we do see some of the same people. Game Grumps is great. Actually, I haven't kept up with them recently in the last several years, but they were, like you, one of the things that kind of got me into uh let's plays, or just that kind of content on YouTube. So yeah, it's very, very cool to see that some of the same influences are there. And
yeah,
I
those
feel
parallels, that's
there,
really cool.
yeah, there's a lot of parallels. with what we've seen, what defines a successful creator in terms of what makes them interesting to watch?
I think the number one most important thing is that you can tell that they're enjoying what they're doing, that they're passionate about what they're putting their time and effort into with streaming. I think, if you make sure fundamentally that you are enjoying what you're doing, that you're having a good time doing what you're doing, and you're not doing something that is burning you out or draining you, that shines through within your content and within your streams. So I think that is how you be successful. You find a way to work hard at what you're doing, but and of course there's going to be inevitable stress, but to make sure that at the end of the day you're having fun, you're enjoying what you're doing, you're enjoying your time live on stream, you're enjoying, you're happy with the content that you're putting out on other platforms. And then that will be reflected just in the same way that if you're not enjoying it, if you're playing a game you don't like on stream, if you're slogging through an edit that you don't like, that's going to shine through in the other way,
Yeah,
in a not helpful way.
there's that piece of being genuine and sincere with it, because even if you don't say it, right, people will know. People will know if
Yeah.
you're not enjoying it or you didn't have fun and you're not feeling it, but you're pushing through. Like, people know when you're doing that.
Yeah.
What do you think makes you a successful creator?
I think that, streaming and content creation is just such an amalgamation of all the things that I've sort of had a knack for throughout my adult life. I worked at a climbing gym for 7 years, went through a lot of different positions there, but that's kind of where I got my start with graphic design. I was doing designing event flyers for that gym. And then I also eventually became the event manager. So I was running the climbing events, the climbing competitions and stuff. So, having that, I also ran trivia night there as well. So, public speaking from the trivia, planning with the event planning, planning out streams and stuff. And then of course the design element, pulling that into merch and designing emotes and stuff. A lot of the things that I have had a knack for, I can pull those skills into streaming. And like I talked about towards the beginning of our chat today, my 4-year anniversary stream, that was really, really kind of a mesh of all of those things coming together where, I planned out this whole, sort of choose your own adventure, wrote this whole storyline with lore that ultimately led to me releasing my new merch line, which is actually an illustration of my cat who you just saw, Mr. Cave. And it's him as a king, and it's in 3 different colorways, and it tied back into the story, which was like the quest for these 3 mythical fruits of ancient legend. And I just, so much time and effort and planning went into that, writing out the whole story, having, chat choose what to do, have them solve puzzles, switch between the different games, have scenes where it was like we're going through a portal and then we pop out in a different game and stuff, and
That's
then
cool.
releasing that merch as well. So I think, just being able to pull from all the things, all the skills that I've accumulated throughout my different careers I've had, I think that makes me able to do things like that, where I don't know that I've seen another streamer do like a choose your own adventure
Yeah.
thing like that before. So I think, my creativity and my skill set, I think, have helped me get to where I am today. So
Yeah. It's very cool. And
yeah.
it's very evident too. I think that I feel like you do put a lot of thought into this sort of thing, and it's greatly appreciated. And yeah, it shows in the way I think you stream, as well as the way you put together a lot of what you do on your content. So, what's something else you want people out there to know about you that maybe they don't already know?
I have like an interesting knack actually for like gaining traction on the internet, which is kind of funny. So back in college, I'm really into the Sims. Sims building is one of the
Yeah.
things I really love to do on stream. So back when like The Sims 3 was out, there would be these like photo screenshot editing competitions basically. You take a screenshot of a sim and like a cool environment and then go in and like edit it and stuff. And because of my design background, I actually gained a lot of traction in the Sims 3 community with the screenshots that I would edit.
That's
And I
cool.
had actually built out, yeah, I had built out a like a guide to editing for people who maybe like they wanted to draw their own hair on their Sims, and that ended up on the Sims 3 forums, like pinned at the top with like hundreds of thousands of views, which was really cool. Um, and then I also started my own subreddit, which I think is sitting at like over 350,000 subscribers now. I just started it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's for large wild animals behaving like domestic pets. So like someone brushing a bear or something, or like a lion playing with a rubber ball or whatever.
That's cool.
So yeah, so I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. I seem to have had this knack for finding ways to gain traction on the internet, which is why like it's so cool to see, because that stuff I'm not necessarily like, it's like one removed from me. It's not
Right.
me. It's like it's the screenshots that I'm editing, or like, oh, it's the content that I'm choosing to post on the
Yeah.
subreddit. But that's why it's so cool for me to see, myself finding success on Twitch as just me, like just
Yeah.
me being me and doing my streaming thing. And I just think it's interesting to have had that experience with those two, and then now Twitch to be like have gained some traction on Twitch as well. So
That's incredible. Well, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that is some great bonus information.
Yeah. Little known fact.
Yeah, little known fact. Well, Toasty, it has been incredible. Uh
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we could chat today. This has been so much fun.
oh, I loved hearing your stories, and thank you for sharing and telling me more about you and your community and what you do. Uh yeah. Where can everyone find you on the internet?
Yeah, so twitch.tv/ToastiiBear, that's my main one.
Mhm.
I also am very proud of what I've been able to do with my Instagram, which is Toastii.bear on Instagram. I post a lot of IRL stuff on there. I'm lucky enough to live in the beautiful mountains of Colorado, so I post a lot of, when I go on hikes or on walks, I post a lot of nature stuff. I post a lot of, pictures of my cat on there who you just saw.
Mm.
Um, and then that's also where I'm starting to post some of those shorts, ToastiiBear on YouTube and TikTok as well. I'm really trying to grow those. I'm getting close to 100 subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, ToastiiBear on almost everything except Instagram, which has the dot in the middle. So
Got you. Here, I'm going
yeah.
to post those in the chat. They will also be in
Oh,
the
thanks, Amor.
description of the episode on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. We'll get all those links on there as well. Toasty, yeah, it means a lot that you came here to talk with me today. Thank you for your time. It's been really incredible. We have a final ritual that I like to do with guests, and sometimes it's just I think the best way to close it. So uh, I'm going to give the floor to you. You can close out this episode with anything you want, whether it's a final thought, a piece of advice, or just how you would like to say goodbye. So, once again, thank you. If you're listening, watching out there to this episode, please make sure you're checking out Toastie's content. All the links will be posted alongside this episode. But from here, the floor is yours, Toastie, to close out the episode.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Amor, for having me. This has been such a wonderful opportunity, and to learn more about you as well. And your journey as a streamer and your partner push has been so cool to know. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I've seen a lot of members of my community pop into the Twitch chat. I love you guys all so much. And from Amor's community, thank you guys for being here today to listen to us chat. And I hope that some piece of our chat today was helpful to you in one way or another. And I just want to remind all you guys, partner push or not, to just be really kind to yourself. Self-care is so important. This world is so hard as it is, and we need to be kind to ourselves because we are the only people that we are with throughout our entire lives. We have ourselves, and it is important for us to be kind to ourselves. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much.